Get Gutsy, episode number 222, Growing Your Business While Homeschooling Your Kids. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now.
Hey everyone, Jenny Fennig here. So glad to be talking to you today on Get Gutsy. I hope you're having a glorious summer. I love summer. It's one of my favorite seasons. It is not, it's just my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and claim it. It's like, I'm just going to give myself permission to claim summer as my favorite. And then I appreciate the other seasons as well. You know what I mean? And summer is my favorite. Yes. And I finally have the space to create something that I've been wanting to create for you for a long time. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, this might not be relevant for you because you're not interested in this topic, or you don't think you're interested in this topic, but I'm going to suggest that you tune in anyway, because the tips I'm going to share with you will be relevant for you as you grow your business, even if you are not interested in homeschooling your kids like I am. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about homeschooling today, and specifically, how do you grow your business while homeschooling your kids? You could sub in a different thing there: growing your business while working a full-time job, growing your business while staying home with your kids, growing your business while you've got this other thing going on. Yes, the specific topic is homeschooling, but what I will be sharing with you as we journey through this conversation together is how to be smart with your work so that it's sustainable for you, so that it provides for your family, that it allows you to do all the things that you want to do with your life, with your home, with the adventures that you're going on, with having plenty of resources to give to causes that you're passionate about. You got it? So, and before we go forward, if you know someone or people who are considering this homeschooling road or are kind of newer to the journey, please forward this episode along. I remember how I felt at the beginning. I was terrified. And that's why I'm creating this episode, so that for those of you who find yourself here or thinking about it, you don't have to feel so afraid. Okay, so let's go. 1 month into second grade, which was October of 2016, my oldest son, Sean, threw me and my husband a curveball. He wanted to be homeschooled. Homeschooled? Excuse me? This was not part of the plan. Yet looking back, I cannot say I was completely surprised by this declaration on his behalf. Sean had been experiencing separation anxiety since preschool. He had a hard time with goodbyes at drop off, but I knew a lot of kids did, and I figured it would ease as he grew. But it came to a head when he was 7 years old. He was just a few months shy of 8 when he literally wouldn't walk into his classroom one morning. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics of what exactly was going on here. Some of you, I've talked to you about this, but it was a traumatic experience for him related to a death in the school. Okay. And despite everything we tried, he never walked into his former classroom again as a student. And I will never forget this time in our lives. It was lonely and terrifying. What was wrong with my son? I thought. Why couldn't he do the one thing all of his friends could do, which was go to school? During the weeks that followed, we tried many things. We toured other schools thinking that the school wasn't a right fit for him and we're going to find another one that is. We worked with therapists from various disciplines because he really was experiencing this trauma from this particular incident. There was a kind of a memorial service at the school and for this child who had passed away. And I know her mother now, and we've become friends. And, just the circumstances around the whole thing were just like, oh my gosh, huge. And we were working to help him move through this trauma, helping him feel more confident in his body and safe in his body. And that was a long journey. It wasn't like we could just, next week he's all going to be better, which is what I wanted. I prayed a lot. I cried a lot. And honestly, I hoped that he would just snap out of it. He would change his mind about not wanting to go to this school or any school so that we could resume our previous life and I could get my life back, honestly, and I could give the attention to my business that I was excited to be giving it. You have to know at that point as well, my middle child, Luke, was in his final year of kindergarten at the same school. And my daughter, Kate, was in daycare. And so, for the first time in a long time, I kind of had, everyone was set. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go. We've got it all handled. Here we go. I have all these dreams. I have these plans. I love working with my clients. I love creating. And then boom, Sean threw that curveball, and he was firm and he did not deviate. Homeschool was for him. He just knew it. And Stephen and I finally surrendered in December of that year. So we had about 2 months of being in this kind of in-between place of what are we doing here? And we decided to officially unenroll our son from his private Waldorf school and officially set off on the homeschool path. And there were several things that kind of guided me along, and I'll share some of those with you today. One was an article called 18 Reasons Why Doctors and Lawyers Homeschool Their Children. And this article sealed the deal for me. I have this article linked up on my blog. So you can go to jennyfennig.com and just find this episode there. You'll find that article. And I want to thank my mother-in-law, Doris, because she's the one who sent me that article, sent to Stephen and myself when we were navigating this new world. And my husband and I read it out loud together. We literally, we printed it out, I want to say, or maybe it was on his computer. I can't remember what we did, but we were sitting on our bed and we took turns reading passages because there's these 18 reasons. So we took turns reading a reason. And, we were in this like, what are we doing? How are we going to figure this out? And I burst out crying at the end of the article and managed to get out these words. This is what he needs. This is what we all need. And I knew that Spirit, I knew that God was talking to me through that article. I just knew it. And that was that. I also am so grateful to several what I call homeschool angels. And I want to thank them because without their help, I would have really been freaked out. I was already freaked out, but they helped alleviate some of that freak out. And those angels are Bib Bailey. Her youngest son was in my son's first grade class, and Bib started homeschooling her youngest son along with her 2 older ones, never thinking she'd be in that world. And she was just hugely helpful to me in those initial months, as was my really good college friend, Stephanie Beatty, who had been homeschooling her children for several years. And I remember watching her posts on like Instagram thinking, that looks kind of fun, but how would I ever do that? And how would we ever do that? And why would we ever do that? And then boom, here we are. And then my cousin, Beth Ramberg, who had been homeschooling her kids the whole journey. And I remember just thinking, because she was the first person I knew who homeschooled, how does she do that? Why does she do that? And who does that? Oh, my cousin does. And her kids are amazing. And all these women who I mentioned, their children are amazing. And they lovingly guided me in those initial days when I was nervous and scared and not knowing how it would all work out. And so I, again, just want to thank them and the families who have come before ours for showing us the way, because that is so important if you're on this road or contemplating it, that you just get some guidance. And that's why I'm putting together this piece of content for you. Also on the blog, I include a link to more data, facts, and trends around homeschooling. It's an article from the National Home Education Research Institute. You can check that out. And a book that may be helpful to you as well is called Dumbing Us Down, The Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling. It's by a man named John Taylor Gatto. He recently passed away. He's got an interesting story, was voted top teacher in New York City many years back. I don't know if it was in the 80s or in the 90s. And just, was in that whole world and just saw what was going on with the system and broke out and became a fierce advocate for homeschooling. He's written a few books. I mean, he has some provocative ideas. I read that book when we were just getting started, and it certainly lit a fire. And I felt that much more confident that there was a solid foundation to do what felt very unconventional and non-traditional, which is pretty much how I roll anyway. So we've just completed our third year of homeschooling. I'm recording this in July of 2019. I've received a lot of questions about homeschooling from entrepreneur friends of friends, online, and in my local community. I live in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts. And the main question I would get over and over again was, well, how do you homeschool and run a business? How is this even possible? Sometimes it was just, what is this homeschooling thing like? Because we found that, several people we were friends with here in our community eventually found their way into homeschooling. And so we just helped each other out. But for those of you who are entrepreneurial and you're doing this, honestly, this is an amazing framework. It's an amazing way to live and work, because as entrepreneurs, I mean, I've set up my business so that I get to create my own schedule. I don't need to have a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 schedule. I don't want that. And I've had that before. I'm choosing something different from my life. My husband's the same way. And so for us, once we found ourselves here, we're like, this is great, because we can really go travel when we want to. Stephen will travel for work. We can go with him. We don't have to ask off from school. My daughter at this point is still she's in that, I still love this Waldorf school, this private Waldorf school. My children all went through the early childhood program there. She still is there. She's got one more year left. And then the vision is that we will homeschool her as well. But we take it 1 year at a time. I try not to get too far down the line, because things change, people change. For now, this is what's working for us. And again, we take it year by year, check in with ourselves, check in with our family, check in with our children, and make sure everyone's getting what they need. But to be an entrepreneur and homeschool your kids is absolutely possible. And I'm going to talk to you about how we do it. Now, up to now, I've connected one-on-one with a lot of brave, curious souls about how do you do this and how does it work? But I've been wanting to create this piece of content for you so I can share tips and lessons learned with a wider audience. It's my intention to help you walk this path with confidence and grace if you choose to. And creating this piece of work for you is a smarter use of my time. And honestly, that's one of my tips, to use your time like a freaking pro. This is a non-negotiable. It's the only way it will work if you're also trying to work in addition to homeschool your kids, and you don't have to choose one or the other. For a lot of homeschooling families, they do. It's often that one parent takes the lead and does the bulk of the homeschooling, if not all of it. In our family, Stephen and I really share the responsibility. But we've moved into, I'd say, more of a directorial role at this point. We're still teaching some areas, but as you'll hear in a few moments, we have a team who supports us. Now, If you are a recovering people pleaser, like I am, then again, the time management piece is, and I don't want to say time management, it's like time mastery. You are going to need to nail this if you want to make this work. And I believe it's such a wonderful skill that we can teach our children around time mastery, because, something that I've really learned from being outside of the quote traditional educational environment is that we get to decide what works for us. We get to decide, hey, do you want to do the whole Monday through Friday thing? Is that what you want? 9 to da-da-da? Do you want to work a condensed schedule? Do you want to decide that you work 3 days? Do you want to decide that you do X number of weeks on and then you do X number of weeks off? Like, you get to decide. And that to me is the ultimate freedom. It's the ultimate freedom. And that's what I want for my children, is that they decide how they want to do this life. And that to me is the magic of homeschooling right there. Okay, so homeschooling has been such a blessing for our family. It was the thing I never wanted that I have come to realize I always wanted. I came from a family that kind of broke up when I was in elementary school. My parents separated when I was in 2nd grade, divorced when I was in 4th. So a piece of my childhood ended, I'd say, kind of my innocence kind of got stripped away at some point in 2nd grade when the family separated. And what I find fascinating is 2nd grade is when my son said, I'm getting off this train. I'm getting off this train. And so what was amazing at that point in 2nd grade for him was I too got to go back to 2nd grade, because that first year I did the bulk of the teaching, because we just were trying to figure out, are we here? Are we doing this? How does this work? And so I got to go back to 2nd grade and be with him and give him what he needed and read these amazing stories and the Waldorf curriculum. And I'll talk about curriculi or curriculum choices in a moment. But in that whole realm, 2nd grade is the time of saints and heroes and animal legends. And it was really, really special. It was a special time. So I am simply grateful. And I will be real with you that many of the moments in homeschooling world are very hard. And there are times that you don't want to do it. I'm like, I'm out. I quit. And yet we soldier on, and we realize it's all part of the journey, and that these are the moments we will always treasure with our children and with our family. So let's dive in. I'm going to answer questions that I have gotten over and over and over again to the best of my ability. And I encourage you to simply take this in and, again, share this out with people who need to hear what I have to share today. Is that a deal? Okay, so let's go. Number one, for those of you who haven't started this yet and are thinking about starting this, where do you even begin? Like, that's where I was in that place of like, oh my God, he's not going back to school. He doesn't want to go to these other schools either. And trust me, if I could force him to sit his butt in that classroom, I would have, but it was not going to happen, and it wouldn't have been healthy for him, and it would have further traumatized him even more deeply. And so, part of being a parent is to often put your own ideas aside and your own like, well, I wanted to do this big project. And it was like, you know what? This is what he needs right now. And we're so blessed that we can give it to him. So when we were in that place, it was like, where do we begin? Well, fortunately, I had some of those homeschool angels I mentioned. So I'm hoping that I can be a homeschool angel for you today. And there'll be other homeschool angels who can give you some of their advice as well. There's a lot of people out there with podcasts, with books. There's a community you can check out called the Wild and Free community. They have podcasts. They have a podcast. They have a homeschool conference. They have other things. Our kids, we're members of their, it's called, what's it called? Wild and Free. I'm going to pull up my paperwork here. We joined, the Wild Explorers Club, the Wild Explorers Club. It's like a scouting program, and it's all online. A lot of homeschooling families are part of it, but you don't have to be a homeschooling family to be in the Wild Explorers Club. but it was really fun for my kids and I to do a lot of those assignments together. We've fallen off a bit with that because the last school year we had a lot going on, but that's a great community that you can check out if you're looking for more support around the homeschooling realm. And you want to find local people to talk to about this, because there are specific laws in your state that you need to understand, because those are the laws that you are being held accountable to. All right. So make sure you check out the laws in your state and in your school district. It's like state, school district, there'll be different kind of rules and regulations and policies that you'll need to follow. The local library can be a great resource for you as well. And we live in a small town. Our local library has so many homeschooling things going on. I just want to give a shout out to Mason Library in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for everything that you do for homeschooling families. We have been greatly blessed by our local library. So check out local library, homeschool co-op groups. You'd be amazed at all the resources that are available. You can also look at museums. I'll tell you more about some of the classes that we've done, because they'll often do things for homeschoolers. And just Google homeschooling in your area. You will have things that will pop up. Okay. You'll also want to consider curriculum, the curriculum that you want to follow or not. I was into that when I first got started. Again, one of my homeschool angels guided me there, and she let me borrow the curriculum that she was using just to kind of make sure I liked it before I then went to purchase it. And I did. We have been following the Christophorus curriculum. Christophorus, that's a Waldorf-based curriculum. There's other Waldorf curriculum out there, curriculi, to use the plural, right? And that was helpful for us because we were coming from a Waldorf background. But there's so many different types of homeschooling approaches you can take. There's Charlotte Mason, there's online schools, there's unschooling, which is a whole kind of a deprogramming, because sometimes kids they need to just kind of forget what they've learned at school because it wasn't helpful at all. And so you just need to do your own research on that and figure out what feels right for your child and for your family, and then make a call. And you can always evolve as you go. I mean, it's so individual, and you can also look at what's going to work for each child. So again, we went with the Christophorus curriculum when we got started. That first year I was just working with Sean, and Luke was still at school. Kate was in daycare. Then next year we layered Luke in because he was moving into first grade and he wanted to be homeschooled. We gave him the option to not, because we don't want to just push this on our children. And we knew our oldest wanted it. We wanted to ensure that our middle child wanted this too, and he did, and he still does. So what I will say to you here is, do not try to replicate school at home. I was so trying to do that first year, because I was like, okay, again, I didn't think I'd ever be here. And so I'm trying to just let's sit down at the table and do all these things. And it's not school at home. It's learning to learn anywhere you are. And it's learning to simply love learning wherever you are. And so I have evolved so much. We've just, finished our third year homeschooling, third year for Sean, second year for Luke. Kate is already asking to be homeschooled, but I'm committed to her finishing out this early childhood program. I think it's very magical in what she experiences. But what I know is I'm not trying to replicate school at home. I'm simply allowing them, and my husband and I are giving them just a really powerful environment to be their best. Okay, that's how we roll. I will talk to you more about how a typical day looks like, but those are just some things to kind of get you going and get you started. Listen, if you will have to work out how the work thing is going to work. Steve and I are blessed that we both work from home, and so we did need to modify our schedules to make this work. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So what kind of approvals do you need, and from whom? Okay, this is an important conversation. So as I mentioned, every state is different. Every county is probably different. Your local school district is going to differ in terms of what they need from you. Where we live at this point, we submit our vision for the upcoming school year to the principal of the school that our child would be attending. The public school. Okay. Our kids at this point have never been in public school. We were on the private school route. Not that public school isn't wonderful, but we just didn't feel like it was the right place for our kids at that time. But they are responsible for the children in their district. So when this all happened, I met with our local principal. She was incredible. She's since moved on, but she was the one who basically reviewed the vision and then submitted her recommendation on if we were a good fit for homeschooling to the superintendent of our school district. Then you get the approval and you go on your merry way. Now, the vision, you want to look, they're wanting, in our case, they're wanting to look at what are the subjects you're covering, what are the hours that you're schooling. You know, it's just kind of, they'll tell you what they're looking for. I pretty much now just have a template I'll follow. I create a Google Doc and I include, you know, I break it down per child and I just cover the subjects, and I'll pull out the curriculum that we have from Christophorus and I just go through some of those, I mean, just basically the main subject areas and the points, you know, the areas that we're going to look at. And now because we work with tutors, which I'll tell you more about, then I'm pulling in their vision and their ideas and what we're going to cover. After that, it's very hands-off where we live, and what we do at the end of the year is simply submit a summary. Submit a summary. Here's what we did. I pull back out the beginning vision for the year, make necessary changes, so kind of like how that might have shifted as the year progressed. I take a lot of pictures during the school year, and I include them into that report, and I submit that end of year summary. And it's really powerful. I mean, right now I'm actually in the midst of finalizing that end of year summary, and it's a lot of work. But as I go through it, I love going through it because it's so rewarding to remember all the things that we did and all the things that we did together. I think that's one of the things that I love most, is that we're together a lot. Now, that is sometimes hard, but we have so many memories together. We have so many things that we do together. And I think a lot of us, you know, if you've been with me for a while, you know that my sister died when I was a teenager. And so I know that sometimes really shitty things happen. And my sister died when she was 12. My oldest son is 10. I hope he lives until he's 112, right? And how do we all really know how it's all going to go? And so I am just so grateful that we've had this time together so far, and we'll continue having these experiences together that will serve them forever and serve me forever and serve my husband forever. Okay, so just get the deal from your local school district and work it out, okay? And then from there, you just do your thing and you have an incredible year, and it's awesome, okay? And it's hard and it's awesome. So what does a typical day look like? Well, this is gonna differ per homeschooling family you might talk to. In our case, Steve and I tend to share the day. We split the days, okay? And so there'll be certain days where he's with the children in the morning and we flip around lunchtime. And then other days where it's reverse of that, okay? My daughter at this stage goes to her school 4 days a week. So 2 mornings I do drop off. And when I do theirs, I make real good use of my time. You're gonna hear me talk about this time element. And I'll bring our dog with us, and I do a nice hike with her after I drop Kate off, because my husband's with the boys. And then, yeah, we just ensure that we kind of understand the framework of each week and each day. And we have help, okay? Now, as I mentioned, that first year, it was a lot of me doing this. Stephen would do certain subjects too. He kind of took math, because I'm not interested in handling math. It's just not my favorite subject at all, although I was pretty strong in it. My area of expertise is writing, language arts, storytelling, projects. I love all of that. And so I'll do that with the children still. And I did that big time with Sean that first year. I did that big time with Luke his first year in first grade, because in the Waldorf tradition, that's when they learn their letters. That's when they learn their numbers. And I love that stuff. I love art. I love creating. Oh my gosh, so much fun. And so we just really, like I said, split the days, and we're, you know, it's not a perfect science, because there's certain times Steven's traveling or I'm traveling, or we just had like this work deadline and we had to kind of move some things around. but we have tutors that will come in on certain days and certain times. And so we kind of build around that. And those tutors will give homework for the children. And so a lot of what Stephen and I are doing at this point is overseeing the completion of the homework. And then if there's questions about the homework, we'll support her on that. But the tutors, and when we pay these tutors, they do their thing. The kids are with them. Now, typically with the tutors, there's one child with the tutor, and then they flip because our boys are 2 years apart. They're not really learning the same material when it comes to tutoring like that, private tutors. And so if one boy's with the tutor, the other one is with whatever parent is kind of on for that portion. They might be doing homework during that time. They might be doing, just being outside and kind of moving their body. We just flow with it. We're not super rigid because we don't need to be. Everything gets handled. Everything gets done as it's meant to, and we give everyone space to breathe. There are certain homeschool classes and groups that we have found for the boys that have been incredible. I mentioned our local library. One of our museums had an incredible homeschool science program that the boys were part of all last year. Oh my gosh, so awesome. And so it's like we basically just design their schedule for them. It's almost like if you went to college, you have to design your schedule. We're just doing that a bit earlier. At this point, they're 10 years old and 8 years old. When we layer Kate in, she'll be at her point. I mentioned, I can't remember if I did or not, but my boys are big athletes. So a lot of sports. We've got games and practices and just being out and moving their body. That's a big piece of our typical day as well. We take field trips. We can go places. We have a mountain that's near us. So often the boys and I would go to the mountain. We'd often bring our dog. We would bring a backpack at times filled with a notebook and some colored pencils, and they would just, draw things while they were on a rock. We would notice things. We would notice the changing of the seasons. We just vibe on the seasons. We vibe on where they are developmentally. We vibe on kind of interest areas. We can do that. There's that flexibility. We spend a lot of time outside, and we just do it. We just do it. We make it ours. And we have a good time. We have a good time. And we give ourselves grace because, as I mentioned, it's going to be hard. You're going to have those days that are hard. But when we look back and we realize how blessed we are to be able to do this, that is what fuels us. Okay, and so I also get the question, Jenny, when do you work? Well, I mentioned the split day schedule. So I used to call myself a time ninja. I've come into this new term, which is a time goddess. All right, so I am fiercely protective of my time. I believe that is one of my greatest skills. One of my greatest strengths is I know how to work that freaking time. I know how to get so much out of the blocks of time that I have because I don't waste it. I'm like very intentional about what I do with it. So there's that. I am very focused. And I know that, the blocks of time that I have for my work, I'll have certain days that are for clients. I'll have certain days that are for writing and creation. I'll have certain days where I don't schedule any work things. That's for me to go work with a healer. That's for me to go exercise. That's for me to simply have, unscheduled time, which I need. I have time to travel. We'll talk more about like my downtime because I know I got a question on that. But I get a lot done. If I need to get up early on certain days because I've got a deadline or we've got this big thing happening, I will do that. If I need to stay up late because the same thing, I will do that. I have been an entrepreneur now for over 10 years. I am not new at this game and I love what I do. And it's not an option for me to not do it. Like I'm not available for that conversation. So I'm also not available for the conversation that we're not homeschooling our kids. So what do I need to do? I need to be very disciplined and very focused on the projects that move the needle the most in the business and the projects that fill me up the most. And I also need to be really, really, really strong at saying no and having that be a complete sentence and also doing it with grace and saying yes to the things that light me up and being in this place of faith around this is a season. This is a season of my life. In 10 years, it's going to look different. And that's going to be awesome too. So for now, this is what it looks like. And then in 5 years, it's going to look different. In 10 years, it'll look different. In 15 years, it'll look different. But for now, this is the season that I'm in. And I'm just really, really disciplined about my time. I also have help in my business. I delegate. I just know what works. I know what works at this stage, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. Okay. How do I take time for myself? That's another question that I have gotten. And I briefly mentioned it, just a moment ago, but I just do. The key for me is exercise and healthy fuel, what I'm fueling myself with, whether it be, the type of exercise that I'm doing, nature. I practice intermittent fasting because for me, it's all about energy. When I take care of myself, when I honor my body, honor my spirit, honor my mind, I am able to really be there for my children and have the patience that's required to do this. Okay. And so I know what I need, and it's a non-negotiable. Steve and I have to communicate quite a bit. Again, this is not a perfect science. There are times when we really get on each other's nerves and communication breaks down, and he's got more stuff going on for work, but I also do too. And so how do we handle all of that? And we will get extra help. We do have a regular babysitter. That's hugely helpful for us, kind of taking pressure off at bedtime, at least one night a week, just getting that support. And we'll shift that with each season where we need that additional help. And we just give ourselves permission to do so. I will travel for work when I need to. I don't travel a lot because I'm choosing not to, but I'll make intentional trips. Like I have one coming up this November I'm really excited about. I'm leading a retreat this January in Costa Rica that I'm thrilled about. And I just communicate with Steven. We block it off on the calendar. I let him know what this is about. He tells me when he's traveling, and it all just works out. But taking time for yourself is mission critical. You will figure it out. Again, for me, it's like when I feel good in my body because I have fueled it through sweat and through really good food and, keeping myself hydrated, mindset work. I read a ton. I write. I'm listening to podcasts that fill me up. Then I'm good to go. Like I am good to go. And I'm that much more present for my children, for my clients, for all the people who I care about, my community, all the things. Another question I get is how do you build in social activities for your kids? Some people are like, well, aren't you concerned about the socialization? And I would say absolutely not. Listen, I'm sure there are homeschooling families out there and the kids don't see a lot of other kids, maybe due to location or belief system of that family. Our kids see other kids all the freaking time. They have so many friends. They could have a play date every day for the rest of their life and be really thrilled about that. They play a lot of sports. And so they make friends there. They had friends from their first 2 years in their school. Again, we do play dates. We have sleepovers. They tend to be at our house because they just do at this stage. I love that. I love that we pop popcorn. We just have so much fun. And yeah, socialization is zero concern, like zero concern. Now, there's a piece of it that, Sean recently was a part of a camp and he was kind of upset about this one particular thing. And we were talking through it. And I said, listen, these kids, they just don't really know you yet because you haven't been going to this camp this is your first year and they're not in school with you. And so they don't have that relationship built with you. And so just, I'm there for him. My husband's there for him to talk him through how to handle some of these social situations that maybe he's not used to so much, but he will get there. He will get there. And we feel like the payoffs from this kind of life and this kind of education far outweigh any kind of issues that he needs to deal with in terms of developing friendships with some of these kids. We love that they're not exposed to certain things we don't want them to be exposed to. I personally love that they've never had to be part of an active shooter drill. There's just certain things that this road has opened me up to that I'm so, so grateful for. I feel like we are expecting so many things from our kids, and we're exposing them to so many things that they are not emotionally prepared for. I mean, adults aren't even emotionally prepared for these things. And, if you are considering this path, it is, again, it will test you and humble you and all the things, but it has been hugely rewarding. And when I have spoken to kids who have been homeschooled and they're now in college or beyond, they tell me the most wonderful things about their journey and no regrets. And they're all well developed and happy about life and able to, they found their footing. And that's what I want for my children. Again, I mentioned the homeschool classes. You'll look for those. You'll find some in your area that might call out to you. And then you'll travel. You can do all these things. You're not on a typical schedule. And so you can really do it the way you want to do it. Okay, a few more questions and then we are all set. Wow, this has been super fun. Y'all, I have been thinking about this episode for so long. And I just, honestly, I had many other things that needed to happen before I had space to do this for you. And I feel just really grateful that I have space to do it for you now. So, how do you best build your teaching team? How do you best build your teaching team? Okay, awesome question. So, you're going to look ahead for the year and maybe even specifically for the semester, okay? And you can look at what you want to focus on with your child or with your children. Now, if you're following a particular curriculum, then that's kind of laying things out for you. But, at this stage, we still have our Christopher's curriculum, but we use that as a loose guide. I followed that very closely in first grade for my son Luke and second grade for both boys. And then some of the tutors that we're working with have been utilizing that curriculum for the children at this stage. When my daughter goes into first, assuming that we're on this homeschool road at that point, I feel like we will be, but again, year by year, kid by kid, I'll be in a place where I am teaching her letters. I am teaching her numbers. She already has a real sense of that because she's just naturally wanting to know that. But it's exciting to kind of just design it and to trust that it will happen. And what I love about this is that you do not have to compare your kid. It's not like, well, my kid's slow because he's not reading yet. And then he's labeled as a slow reader. Or my kid's really good at this, but sucks at that because, that's what his dynamic in the class is all about. It's not like that at all. They can just be purely who they are without those influences of labels, and which can stay with them forever, So I would encourage you to simply look at what you want to focus on and where the interests are, and maybe make them geographic specific. Again, if you're working with a curriculum, that's awesome. You can just use that as a springboard and go from there. We have had private tutors in many subjects. I'm trying to think if we had a few, with that first year with Sean, it was a lot of kind of that therapeutic approach because he was really suffering from anxiety, just kind of what he had gone through. And we were working to, just get him to feel like really confident in his body and like safe and feeling like he could just be who he was and not worry about things that he didn't need to worry about. And so it was a lot of, I spent a lot of time with him, and so did my husband. And I was just, I kind of get emotional thinking about that at this stage, how just, and it's because of my business, I was able to do it. It was because of my business, I was able to do it. And I love my business for lots of reasons, and that's one of them. It's given me the freedom that I need, that my family needs. And I'm so, so grateful. And so if you've ever invested in something from my business at this stage, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for helping me do this work and extend this message. And thank you for investing in your own dreams through my creations. I am deeply, deeply grateful. So through the years, we've had many different private tutors, some of whom we still have. And there's times when you're kind of like, all right, we're complete there. And then maybe we'll layer that person back in at another time, or maybe we're going to open up to this other subject area that we want them to be exposed to. Currently, we have tutors in French, math, science, music, specifically piano, language arts, and writing. Okay, those are our private tutors at this stage. I don't think I'm leaving anyone out. We've also had a gardening and farming teacher in the past who I adore, who came in and worked with the boys, and that was really fun. And again, we would just springboard off the curriculum because there's certain times that you're focusing on certain areas based on the evolution and the development of that child. And this is something I love about Waldorf. It's very much the evolution of the soul, the individual spirit of the child. And so we'll just springboard off of material and bring in some people who could provide some insight and some guidance and hands-on learning in that area in ways that I'm certainly not an expert. I am not a gardening expert in the least. And so you would not want me teaching gardening, okay? I mean, certainly we could have fun and play in the dirt, which is fine, but we wanted to expose them to some experts in those specific areas, kind of zone of genius work, which I believe, you want to be in your business as well. And so we have done so. We've, again, homeschool groups and classes. In our case, we have a great STEAM program at our local library. And I want to give a shout out to Elaine Caligari on that. She's another homeschool angel. Thank you, Elaine, for all the love you've shown to my boys. They love that STEAM class, and they've done a lot of really cool projects in there. And Elaine organized a geography fair for our community. Mostly homeschoolers participated, and we worked on a big project around the country of Canada. We had a blast. So again, there's just so many wonderful things out there if you just open your eyes and get yourself on this journey. Our boys took a coding class. All right, that was also offered at the library. And then we organized with another family a handwork class. And that was a lot of fun. They did a lot of knitting and creating beautiful things. So those are some, in terms of building the teaching team, it's just really listen to your children, find who you think is going to be a good fit. They might not resonate with everyone. Speaking of that STEAM class, the first time we tried it, Sean just wasn't ready. And he went to one class and he refused to go back. And I was mortified and really annoyed. And then Luke wouldn't go anymore. And so that was 2 school years ago. This past school year, he loved it. And so, gosh, listen to your kids. Listen to your kids. There's times when we want to stretch them, and we also need to know when what we might do is going to break them. And so I really had to learn that lesson, stretching versus breaking, stretching versus stressing. I do it with my clients too. When I'm setting up for you, when I'm, helping you create, I want it to stretch you, not stress you. Same here with your kids. Same here with this homeschooling approach. Okay. And make sure you're not trying to live out your own stuff through your kids. All right. That's why you get some therapy, get some support around this, do your own processing, because they have their own journey as do you. You're simply a guide. And I think at this point, Steve and I were very much the directors of the educational approach. We kind of informally call our homeschool home sweet homeschool, home sweet homeschool. And we're very much directors at this point. Again, having expertise in certain subjects that we'll go deeper with the children on. And we know that our kids are going to get to where they need to be. It's just going to happen. It's already happening, and we have full faith around that. Okay, so final question here I'm going to dive into today. And thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a joy. What has happened in my business as a result of me homeschooling? Again, I know a lot of my listeners right now are fellow entrepreneurs, you're coaches, you're change makers, or you're contemplating this road. Great. Okay. I spoke with one, I didn't know her at the time. She reached out because her son was needing this, and she was scared, and which is totally normal. And she was also a fellow online entrepreneur coach, and she had a lot of questions and was like, oh my gosh, this homeschooling thing, how's this going to work in my business? I've worked so hard. And that was my thing. I'd worked so hard to build it to where it was. And I felt like it was just all going to go away. My friends who I consulted with, most of them were stay-at-home moms, and they focused on this full time. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that, number one. And number two, I wouldn't want to. Okay. And I love my children, and I'm so pumped to be in this whole world, but my work is really important to me. It's really important to me. And I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to. And so I had to figure out, how can I do this? How can I do this? And so my advice to that one particular woman was, what if, like, can you open yourself up to the idea that you can homeschool and grow your business? Not that the business needs to decrease, not that the business needs to go away, not that you need to be a stress case, but that you can do what you need to do and want to do for your family with this homeschooling, and your business can grow and it can be really juicy and enjoyable. And so that's what it's been for me. I have let dead weight fall away. I have let go of the things that hold me back when it comes to projects, when it comes to certain people, when it comes to energy that is not an energetic match for where I'm going and what I'm creating. And this has not been easy, but it has been essential and crucial and necessary. You know, my family is so important to me, and this work is so important to me, that it was just a non-negotiable for me to make some tough calls. But being a leader is making tough calls. Focus, focus, focus has been my mantra. And I just don't let anything get in my way around that. I also have really worked to be in the flow. I have surrendered more than I ever thought possible. I work deeply with the moon. I'm tuned into the cosmos. I'm tuned into the seasons. I know what phase the moon is in at any one time, and I work with that energy. I actually created a program, and I love leading this program. It's called Magic Makers. You can get on our wait list if it's not open at this point, jennyfenning.com/magic. And that's what we do. We co-create with the moon. And so I really had to say, how can I make this as enjoyable and profitable as possible? Because I don't have all day to work on this business. It's just not what my life is right now. And I've had to really get up close and personal with my numbers, my financial numbers. And I'm really proud to say, and I did a podcast on this, months ago now, but 2018 was our first 6-figure in profit year. I had many years 6 figures in revenue, but I had not crossed the 6 figures in profit benchmark. And we did last year. And I was homeschooling 2 kids. All right. So that I am deeply, deeply proud of. And I know what moves the needle. I give myself a lot of grace. I don't compare myself, although there's a piece of me that still wants to, with people who's, like anyone, honestly, like, oh my God, look at her. Okay, but her kids are in college. Look at her, but okay, they are out of the house all day. Okay, but look at it. And listen, you could compare to anyone, even if someone who has a quote looks like they have the same kind of life than you do, and they'll be further at this or better at this or whatever. And it's like, compare and despair. I just don't do it, and I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to compare yourself to me. I don't want you to compare yourself to anyone. And I really had to do that. I think at first, when I gone on the homeschooling road, I almost felt like I had to hide it from my community. I thought maybe certain clients wouldn't want to work with me anymore. They would think I wasn't taking this work seriously, that I wouldn't be available. And what has been amazing is that I have attracted homeschooling entrepreneurs as clients, or women who want to be on that road, or who love me more because I homeschool. They're like, oh my God, like I did that with my kids, and now I love you even more. I love your work even more. And so once I just said, I'm not going to hide this. I'm going to be proud of this. I know I'm still serious about my work, and I'm serious about giving my family what they need. That was that. That was that. I truly want to let families know that this is possible. Growing a business and homeschooling your kids, it's possible. It's incredible. It's challenging, but what isn't, right? You will not regret this if you choose this, or if you're already there now and you're like, oh my God, just know you can totally do it. You know, I'm grateful I have a coaching business. I can schedule things at my discretion, and I can decide there's certain days that I work with clients, there's certain times that I do this, and then the other times I'm working with the children, I'm taking them to their class, I'm taking my daughter off here, I'm going here. Like, that to me, a coaching business, oh my God, like when I quit my last corporate job all those eons ago, I knew I was ready for something different. I wasn't quite sure what yet. I just thank you to the coaches who came first and who helped open up this industry. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to train coaches to do this work. If you don't know this, I have a coaching school called Get Gutsy Coach Training School. And this is what we help our women do, is to be coaches and have an online business and have programs that you teach and have individual clients that you coach and have retreats that you lead. All the things that I do, it's because I decided to become a coach. I decided to learn everything I could about online marketing, about entrepreneurship, about mindset, about healthy living, about I've really gotten so deep with my spiritual practice. I mean, it's just been incredible. Make sure if you want to check out our coaching school, we just have the most incredible people in there. We just graduated a group, and we are in our early bird enrollment for our next class, and that is will happen in early 2020. We'll kick that off. You can go to coachtrainingschool.com for more details on that. And thank you so much for tuning in. This has been rad. One more announcement. All right. So for those of you who want to dive in with me now and be part of a really, really empowering, exciting leadership adventure. This is for my coaches and change makers, that's my community, coaches and change makers. I've got something coming up for you. I'm looking at my dog right now. I'm recording this in July 2019, as I mentioned. So if you're tuning in that time frame, this baby is going to be happening very soon. It's called Bang the Drum, Bang the Drum. And the subtitle is Sharing is Caring, Selling is Fun. All right, so listen, I have grown my business because I know how to share and I know how to sell. Yeah, I know how to manage my time because I know what to do with that time. And then I'm sharing, I'm selling, and I'm serving my clients. Sharing, selling, serving my clients. Those are the things, okay? And I know that not everyone knows how to do this as well as you need to, or as well as you want to. And so that's why I'm leading this amazing experience. This is about you knowing that you got to stop hiding. This is for you. And whether you're homeschooling or not, this is for my entire community. If you feel that your potential clients can't find you because you're hiding, or that your message is safe, AKA boring, or because you're not making offers because you're afraid, and you might be afraid of being too, quote, salesy, we got to do something about this, okay? Because you're not the only one who does what you do, but you're the only one who can do it and be exactly like you, because you're the only you. You're one of a kind. So it's time to claim it and bang the drum, bang that drum in the way that only you can. You got to bang the drum because you're a light bearer and a beacon. You have music inside of you, and it's time to share it and sell it more fully and profitably. All right? You're going to change millions of lives. Your relationships will improve. You stop waiting and making excuses. You're going to earn so much money with ease, which, let me tell you, homeschooling or not, you need that money. Homeschooling is not free for us. We pay those tutors. We are happy to do so. We have things that we want to do with our family. We give to causes that we're passionate about. And you're allowed to earn. You're allowed to earn. You're allowed to do wonderful things with that money, and that's what I want for you. And if you want some support here, because you're not here yet, you're not where you want to be yet, it's time to get that support that you need. And I'm your girl. I'm a difference maker to difference makers. Together, we gently shake the world and make the change we came here to make. So I created something for you. It's called Bang the Drum. It's a coaching and training adventure, empowering you to show up, speak up, love more, and sell more. It's for coaches, consultants, change makers ready to break through to your next level of contribution and earning. Way it's going down: 1 week of magical support and action taking in our private group, 3 live stream trainings with me, 1 new moon coaching circle. We will be together over the new moon, which is powerful. Potent breakthroughs galore. It's going to be fierce and awesome, and I'd love to have you there. Would love it. Whether you homeschool or not, I don't care. I am just here to work with those of you coaches and change makers out there who want to get your programs out there, work with more one-on-one clients, publish your podcast, publish your book, put your message out there, help the people you came here to help, and you're tired of waiting. You are tired of just scratching that surface. When you come hang out with me, you are going to make some traction. You are going to make some moves. You are going to make some money, and you are going to make a really, really powerful impact. So come join me and bang the drum, spread the word to your people. It's going down, jennyfennig.com/drum, jennyfennig.com/drum. Again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I am thrilled to have had the opportunity to connect with you. Whether or not you're interested in this homeschooling path, I know you got some value today around business. My dog is barking, and this is life. This has been a great example of what it is. You're going to have your dog barking. You're going to have a kid breaking in. That's like kind of what it is to be doing what you're doing. And I want to just be real with you about my life. I want to show you it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I don't need to be. And neither do you. All right. So I hope you got a tons of value from this. I'm excited to see those of you at Bang the Drum who are going to join me there. I'm excited for you to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it today. And I'm excited to connect with you the next time we connect. This is Jenny Fennig sending you so much courage, confidence, and what else do I want to send you? Abundance as you get gutsy. I will see you next time. Bye now.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfennig.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfennig.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.